Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching Channels Television, celebrating 21 years of professional broadcasting.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
We can now share with you some of those pictures that were sent into our portal. And the first one we have is from the School of Nursing Road, Usman Danfodio University Teaching Hospital in Sokoto State, showing an illegal refuse dump site. Our eyewitness reporter wants the authorities to do something about it. And here's a picture of a dilapidated road from Kaguru Bypass in Kaduna State. Our eyewitness reporter wants the government to repair this road. This picture is from Arthur Eze Avenue in Awka, the Anambra State capital. Our eyewitness reporter is appealing to the government to construct a proper drainage system in the area. And here's one from Kuje area of the Federal Capital Territory in Abuja. Our eyewitness reporter is asking drivers to be more careful on the roads. And let's end with this one from Mile 2 area of Lagos. Our eyewitness reporter is asking road users to drive with care at all times.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Thanks a lot for all your pictures. Now, as part of plans to promote decent repatriation of Nigerians, the British government has donated a reception centre worth 56 million naira to the Nigerian Immigration Service at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport here in Lagos. The centre was jointly commissioned today by the British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Mr. Paul Arkwright, and the Minister of Interior, Lieutenant General Abdurrahman Dambazo.
Facilitating a decent return for those repatriated home from the United Kingdom is the reason for this occasion. Top officials of the Ministry of Interior, the Nigerian Immigration Service and the British High Commission are gathered to ensure that this inter-country collaboration over immigration return works.
I wish to commend the efforts of His Excellency Paul Arkwright, the British High Commissioner to Nigeria, and his team for making this project a reality. This initiative will no doubt further strengthen the right of all returnees to Nigeria from different parts of the world and will further decongest our arrival hall at the airport.
The working partnership has at the center this 50 persons processing facility, which is being donated to the Nigerian Immigration Service by the government of the United Kingdom.
This reception centre is designed as a bespoke facility to help improve the returns process for you on the ground, but more importantly to allow a dignified return for Nigerian citizens with respect for them, with respect for their dignity, returning back home here to Nigeria.
When all is said, authorities here say they're doing their bit to ensure that people do not overstay their status.
There are a number of people who are coming back. These are people, as the Minister says, who have overstayed the visa conditions, but they're also exhausted all the legal avenues. At the end of that long process.
Meanwhile, it's been a really big day for UK politics as former Home Secretary Theresa May takes over as Prime Minister, the 76th in the UK and 13th under Queen Elizabeth II. Speaking shortly after she resumed at number 10 Downing Street, Mrs May promised to lead a one-nation government for all and not a privileged few. Mrs May, however, wasted no time putting together a new cabinet, naming former London Mayor Boris Johnson as Foreign Secretary, former Foreign Secretary Philip Hammond as Finance Secretary, Amber Rudd as new Home Secretary, Michael Fallon as British Defence Secretary, and Liam Fox as International Trade Secretary. Others will be announced soon. And we'd like to warn.
Order. Questions to the Prime Minister.
Former British Prime Minister David Cameron spent his last day in office answering questions in Parliament, addressing the nation, and then visiting Queen Elizabeth II to tender his resignation. At the House of Commons, Mr. Cameron began with a joke about his soon-to-be unemployed status.
Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. Other than one meeting this afternoon with Her Majesty the Queen, the diary for the rest of my day is remarkably light.
Afterwards, he listed his administration's achievements in the last few years.
I think of the people on the other side of the world who wouldn't have had clean drinking water, the chance to go to school, or even be alive, were it not for our decision to keep our aid promises to the poorest people and the poorest countries in our world.
And hours later, he left number 10 Downing Street for the final time. 59-year-old Theresa May takes over as Prime Minister of Britain.
The government I lead will be driven not by the interests of the privileged few, but by yours. We will do everything we can to give you more control over your lives. When we take the big calls, we'll think not of the powerful, but you. When we pass new laws, we'll listen not to the mighty, but to you. When it comes to taxes, we'll prioritise not the wealthy, but you. When it comes to opportunity, we won't entrench the advantages of the fortunate few. We will do everything we can to help anybody, whatever your background, to go as far as your talents will take you.
She will lead the complex process of extricating the nation from the EU after the UK voted to leave the bloc in June.
Joining me now to discuss this historic day in UK politics is the Executive Vice President of the Centre for Policy and Foreign Engagement, Dr. Eke Agbai, and he joins me from Abuja. Thanks a lot for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you very much.
All right, Doctor, it's the end of one era and the beginning of another. What's your impression about British politics, seeing the seamless way power was handed over from one person to the next? Did you see that?
Well, for one thing, it demonstrates respect for constitutional democracy. It also demonstrates values for the tenants. It also tells you that the politicians there are not necessarily those who will not respect the mandate of the people. They realize that their power is derived from the people. So when you have a well-defined rules of engagement, you see things like that.
And there's been no wasting of time at all in terms of naming her cabinet. Let's look at some of the key positions today. Boris Johnson, leader of the Leave campaign, and we see him there as Foreign Secretary. Do you think that was a classic move by her?
Well, we must understand the fact that he played an instrumental role in winning the referendum in the first place. So he needs to be compensated. I understand that. What I'm not sure, however, is given the fact that he is going to be the Foreign Secretary and dealing with those nations who obviously may not be happy with him. So he may have some difficulties because there needs to be that sense of appreciating, first of all, your values for what they stand for. However, it's about United Kingdom. It's not about Boris Johnson. So I'm sure at some point those foreign countries will have no choice but to work with Britain or be with him at the helm of affairs in that department.
Now, what about the lady Amber Rudd, new Home Secretary Philip Hammond as British Finance Minister?
Well, talking about the Home Secretary, of course, Theresa May is leaving that office with a very strong commitment to immigration. I'm almost sure that given the fact that she has a reputation for being very tough and very decisive, she made that decision recognizing the fact that she'll follow in her footsteps. That would be my opinion.
Yeah, I was going to talk about her being very tough, because also people say she's not one to like the limelight too much, and she kind of divorces her home life from work. Is that a quality that they're going to need with the new government that they're trying to put together?
I think so. You need somebody who's very decisive, somebody who is driven by conviction. And that's the reputation she brings. She was brought into this position not so much because she sought for a member, she was not elected. So she recognizes the fact that she does not have the mandate of the people. But her reputation as a decisive leader, a leader who is driven by conviction, and somebody who does what she believes in, I think to a large extent she will succeed.
Let's take a look at David Cameron now. I mean, you couldn't help but notice his wit, at that session that was watched by millions across the world. What do you think will overshadow his legacy? Do you think it will be the Brexit, the man who led Britain out of the EU, or will it be something else?
Well, there's no gainsaying the fact that the exit from Europe happened on his watch. But I think to a large extent, they will remember him for a leader who stabilized the economy, who reduced the budget, who believes strongly in the union. Remember, he fought very vehemently in making sure that Scotland does not get out of the union. So while exiting from Europe may be what people will remember him for, unfortunately, but I think the role he played in those areas I've just mentioned will still be something that legacy will still remember him for.
Yeah, he did make the point about laying the foundation for the kind of economy that can absorb the shock of the Brexit. Do you think that they can continue that moving forward, or how should they argue that?
Well, they just have to have no choice, but they still have to face difficulties. You know that, first of all, exiting Europe means that they have to lose access to the single market. But I think one of the things that they may have to find way is to negotiate and then find ways of making sure that the economy remains very strong in the face of the global uncertainty.
Even talking about his many achievements that he was listing there, coming home to us, Africa and our particular kind of continent, do you think that the issues of the Brexit will be paramount on their minds? Will they have time for immigration issues that are obviously a concern to us here in Africa? And what will their policy be towards us?
Well, the decision to leave Europe has been made, and that stands. Ms. May made it categorically clear, crystal clear, that she will stick by that. But coming to Africa, Africa still remains the new frontier. I'm sure that they will still find ways and means to partner with us, especially in the area of terrorism, global terrorism. It does not only affect Africa. And also the fact that, helping Africa in the area that
thank you so much for joining us and sharing your thoughts with us on the News at 10 tonight.
Diseases, those are areas.
Now, when the News at 10 returns, International Energy Agency warns of slowing demand for crude oil while supply remains at high levels. So that'll be on business. Please join us again.